Beyond participation, part 2. So Eccles' research tells us that it is important to design activities that students can expect to have some success in and that they find valuable. But what else is important when designing activities that will keep kids engaged? Reed-Larson's research asked the same question and discovered that activities that build initiative inspire the ability to be motivated from within to direct attention and effort toward a challenging goal. It means students are learning to not just start things, but stick with them. Why is this important? As you learned in week 2, the changing needs and increasing complexities of the 21st century workplace require a workforce that take the initiative to take leadership, think differently, collaborate with others, and synthesize multiple sources of complex information. So do students have opportunities to regularly engage in these types of activities? Well, let's take a look at what students spend most of their time doing. 25 to 30% of youth's waking hours are generally spent doing homework, while 40 to 50% of their time is spent in leisure, watching TV or hanging out with friends, for example. Are these the sort of activities that can effectively engage students? Why or why not? Larson examined these two activities that essentially are not known for being predictive of highly positive outcomes and discovered something interesting. Look at the graph. Which of the following activities or experiences require youth to focus more? Which one is more highly motivating? Probably not too surprising to you. As Larson tells us on page 170, many youth do their schoolwork, comply with their parents, hang out with their friends, and get through the day, but they are not invested in paths into the future that excite them or feel like they originate from within. Larson's theory tells us that unless we incorporate both elements, intrinsic motivation and concentration, that students will most likely be bored, feel alienated, and disconnected from meaningful challenge. What sort of activities can you think of that would incorporate both elements? What examples did Larson give? Larson says a central question of youth development is how to get adolescents' fires lit, how to have them develop the complex of dispositions and skills needed to take charge of their lives. Building initiative, then, is a positive youth development outcome that leads to diminished delinquency, greater achievement, and increased control and self-efficacy. So, how do we develop activities that more deeply engage students in positive youth development experiences? Larson says we need to provide opportunity to voluntarily engage in a structured activity. Think about the examples of homework and hanging out. Homework is a structured activity, but it is not voluntary. Hanging out, on the other hand, is voluntary, but involves little structure and generally little concentration. That's why we like doing it. So structured voluntary activities include opportunities for intrinsic motivation, concentration, and something called temporal arc, which is simply an activity that needs to happen over time because it involves cumulative planning and action for the duration of the project or season. Let's look at some examples of engagement in structured voluntary activities such as sports and arts or other hobbies. When I voluntarily chose to play high school basketball, I was highly motivated to be a starter and be part of a winning team. I loved to compete with myself and against others. We practiced every day, of course, working diligently towards specific personal and team goals. This, of course, took a lot of concentration, planning, and effort over time. Activities that build initiatives, such as sports, create opportunity for you to engage in meaningful, real-world experiences that include anticipating, planning, practicing, collaborating, evaluating, and negotiating over a period of time. These activities can take many forms. In out-of-school time, we often see them present in project-based learning, or PBL. You will watch a video this week on project-based learning to understand this more. One last note. Using the Girl Scout cookie selling example in the Larson reading, think about all the opportunities it gives youth to use language and highly valuable 21st century skills to work with others to achieve a goal. This slide shows you how initiative-building activities can be useful to all students, but especially English language learners, who get the opportunity to engage in daily language and literacy practices, working on conditionals, modals, clarification, and understanding other perceptions. For this week's reflection, spend some time thinking about your fieldwork experiences and a time that you may have observed students not engaged in learning. What factors may have accounted for that relative to building initiative? See you in the next lecture.